Hey, it's Michael J. And I don't know if it's a New Year's resolution or not exactly, except it's the 3rd of January and I'm using a new camera to do my first video of the new year, really. And I thought I'd do a video about all the places I lived in Sacramento, mostly in the Midtown area. When I was in New York, I did all these neighborhood videos, and I sort of stopped doing them when I moved to Sacramento. But the Midtown area where I used to live in various places is really interesting. But I thought I'd start more at the edge of what is generally considered the downtown area. And it's Sac State, where I went to grad school and finished my undergraduate degree. And I spent a lot of time in the theater building that's behind me. And there it is, behind me. The theater building has the Playwrights Theater and the University Theater and a lot of classroom space. And so I was in here all the time, lived here. And this little park-like area, well, big park-like area actually, as you can see looking around, was a beautiful place to sit out on a nice day. And there were a lot of nice days here. Sacramento's got great weather until it gets hot in the summer, but then we weren't here during the summer. I'm going to show you this bench that I used to sit on. I'm not sitting on it now. It's actually over here. And Dr. Larson, who was a great professor here, his classes were a great show. They were always fun to be in because he was a great performer in his classroom. But he was also a wonderful director and funny guy. He used to always sit on this bench smoking a cigarette, and but they have dedicated a bench to him because he was always out here sitting on a bench. But this bench, as you can see, is not actually the bench. This was put here as a memorial, and it's not where he used to sit. But over here, this is the bench where I found him most often, and where he'd sit down and talk to me. And a lot of us sat on this bench over here. And here's a photograph of me back in the day, in the undergraduate days, standing on the bench. That would have been my first year here at Sac State, because I'm wearing a sweatshirt of the show The Normal Heart, which I did probably definitely in the spring, but I'm not sure what month. I would think it was March. I feel like it was March, maybe April. Anyways, there I am. That fellow's name is Greg. He always worked up at the costume shop, and he was in some of my, in fact, I think he was in my history class with Dr. Larson. But this is the actual bench where Dr. Larson used to be, and then this is his memorial bench. And the theater looks pretty plain from the outside, but inside it's actually a really great theater, and mostly they've kept it updated, state-of-the-art equipment and so forth. And it was a good place for me because when I was in graduate school, there weren't that many graduate students, and I was afforded the opportunity to do several really great projects. Anyway, this is where I first lived nearby here, and I lived in a furnished apartment building, which I'm going to show you, which isn't too far. And the reason I picked it out was because it was just a close bike ride, and I didn't have a car, and so I could ride my bike over here to school, and that was easy. And you'd ride across this bridge to get into the campus, which was kind of fun. But for the first week at Sac State, and I was a transfer student, so I had been at the Western Stage Theater Conservatory program of Hartnell College in Salinas, and then I transferred here to finish my degree, and I lived for 1 week in Jenkins Hall, which is over here, and there's a look at that. And then from Jenkins Hall, I was rooming with a guy named Paul A. or Apollo. He was a PE major, and he was the president of Pi Kappa Phi. And we had nothing in common. He was a nice enough guy. But the first week there were parties all across my floor, and I came in, there's a big group of fraternity brothers sitting on my bed, and it was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And so my friend Pat, who was going back to school for her graduate degree, was not happy in her situation, and we decided a week in that we were going to get an apartment. And she found this furnished apartment, which was good for us because we didn't have furniture, that we shared while we were going to Sac State for the most part. And then I moved downtown to Midtown when my brother was going to go to school at Sac State for a year, and Pat was still my roommate, and so we needed a place with another bedroom, and we found one. A 3-bedroom place is hard to find, but we found a brand new duplex that was built in the middle of Midtown, and we lived there. And so I'm going to show you that. But let's go see. First, I'm going to show you the furnished apartment is still standing. Let's go look at it. The nice thing about this place is that it was right across from Loman's Plaza, and so you had a grocery store and some restaurants and things you needed, because it's right on Fair Oaks Boulevard here. Let's go around and find my apartment around the side. Okay, that is my apartment right there, number 32, upstairs. Oh my goodness, I haven't looked at this place since I moved out of it. There it is, that's the door. I used to park right down here. Okay, right behind me is the place at 24th and G Street where I used to live, and it was a new building at the time. The weird thing is my last roommate there still lives there, so that means there's been basically 2 people who have been the chief renters in this place since 1990, that's when it was. And I lived there for 2 years. And then I moved over to P Street, which I will show you in a second. But right behind here was a Lucky's grocery store, which doesn't exist anymore, so that was convenient. And my dad, when he was in college, lived on the next block around the corner, which was just a strange coincidence, but there's the place. It's a nice street, as you can see here. Okay, I was thinking this place was on 21st and P, but it's actually 25th and P, and you can see behind me, there's better, the place, it's an old 1920s fourplex, and I lived on the upper left part right there. And that was with Blaine White, and we were in there for 2 years before we moved out to Natomas for a while, which I'm not going to show you that because that's way out there. It's not way out there, but it's not Midtown, and this is about Midtown. But yeah, so this place was great. It had a green fireplace in it, which was kind of cool. It was a nice place, but there were what the landlord called water bugs. That's what we in New York call cockroaches, and that was kind of a problem. They were big and scary, and this is the only place in Sacramento I ever noticed cockroaches until I lived in New York, and then I saw them all the time. So, but I like this place. It's on P Street, which goes directly down to the freeway, or you can hop on to 16th and go out the other direction to Arden Fair Mall or to the Music Circus where I used to work. I'm going to the Weatherstone Coffee House now, which was near my place at that I lived at 24th and G. This is at 21st and H. In fact, this place right here used to be a laundromat where I used to do my laundry. So I'm on my way to the Weatherstone Coffee House. It's called Soul now, but they still have the name Weatherstone on the building because it's historical. And here it is. Here I am in New Helvetia, which, well, it's not New Helvetia anymore, it's a new place, but it used to be a coffee place called New Helvetia in a firehouse. During the 1990s, when I was in my 20s, this was a really important place because I'd meet all my friends here, you'd meet dates here. Every Friday and Saturday night at 9 o'clock it would be full of gay men who would all be getting their caffeine going so they could go out to the nightclubs after. You'd go to Faces or the Depot. And here's a picture I took of my friend Kyle when we were hanging out there once. So it was important. Good times, good times. And here's where I live today.